Stress-free 24-hour weigh-in and how to refeed. So personally, I've seen 5 to 7% done in a week. I'm not advising you to do this. I'm just saying that what I've seen and what you could give a go for same day weigh-in without the use of a sweat protocol and without like killing yourself with really low calories. So obviously, I like to lead by example and talk from experience. So I've actually done for a same day weigh-in. When I was a lot heavier, I did 114 to compete at 105 for BNSF North, like maybe 5 years ago or something. And I did that in about 6 days, and that was without a sauna or without a sweat protocol, basically. And don't get me wrong, I felt horrendous, and it wasn't great. But that was like my first time doing it, and one of my first time doing it, and just seeing whether it could be done. I didn't mind feeling like rubbish for a little bit, and that was just done by manipulating the carb intake, manipulating salts in the final week. So just significantly reducing carbs, and you can like fasting like for cuts nowadays. Like I'll use fasting windows, but I didn't use a fasting window there. It was just like significantly reduce my carbs and salt, and then basically stop drinking like whatever 24 hours before. So on this topic, I would definitely say either get in touch with an athlete that you trust who's been through the process and just ask them as like kind of informal advice, or what I would recommend is getting a weight cut coach. Because if you find a way that works for you, you can just like rinse and repeat it. So I've used a weight cut coach for 2 of my under 80 comps. So I used Rebecca Lorch, and it was great because even though it's just like anything that we outsource, like even though I knew the theory, I knew what I needed to do. Like when you're doing something challenging like that, like when you can take emotion out of it as much as possible, it can be really, really helpful. Because like I remember when I've done it before, and I thought, oh, you've looked at the scales on a certain day and you've hit all your kind of process goals of your water load or whatever, but then you've been put off because the scales are like alarming. So it can be great to outsource that kind of the weight cut to a professional, and it just made me relax completely. Fantastic. And obviously they can give you the professional advice of officially what to do. So one thing a thing that I did before I had a weight cut, before I had somebody to actually coach me through the weight cut. So if you type into Google fighter weight cut, I think it's MMA fighter weight cut, and something comes up. I've forgotten the name of but there's a popular article, and it's quite an interesting. It's just basically a case study of somebody who's done it, and I copied that, and because it wasn't as extreme as what they were doing, I just didn't do I couldn't be bothered going in the sauna or couldn't think of anything worse than using a sweatsuit or hot baths or anything. So I just did the carb manipulation, salt manipulation, and fasting windows. So if you're prepared to do the kind of the sweat protocols and find something that works for you, what I've seen people do, like the more people I talk to from like doing internationals at weight classes, 10% for 24-hour weigh-in seems optimal. Much more than that, then people seems to be like too much pressure, and just too much of an ordeal, really, going much more than that for the people cutting. But then too much lighter than that, then you're competing against you're competing as a lighter guy on the actual comp day once you've replenished and stuff. So sitting on the fence and saying find what works for you, but yeah, use those articles for your own study and make up your own mind with it. So I know for a fact where a lot of people go wrong is they focus so much on the and it is really, really difficult, and that's why I like getting a coach in your corner can really help. You get so focused on making weight, and then you go and weigh in and you think, oh, that like the ordeal is done, kind of thing. Can I start thinking about the comp now? Whereas actually, if you want to be optimal and you want to perform at your best, like the rehydration bit and the replenishing yourself is a really, really a real art to get right. And I haven't quite nailed it yet for me, because I struggle to. Yeah, personally, I'll struggle to replenish, and I struggle to. I can eat, but I'm struggling to digest it quick enough and drink the water. I think a problem that personally I have is like I'll drink, I'll take a big drink, and then I'll maybe forget like for a couple of hours to have a drink, and then whereas you've got to be doing little and often. So a thing that I tried on my last cut that really helped. The best one that I did was the under 80 England strongest man. So I did that was the day that I did the dumbbell world record, and I performed really well in the comp. I came second at England's. That was probably my best cut to date, and the best in terms of refeed. So another big tip that a lot of people will say is make sure that you're pissing clear before you eat, basically. So focus on getting rehydrated before you, even though you'll feel hungry. You'll have a bit of you'll have a drink at your weigh-in, and then you're like, oh yeah, let's go and eat now. I feel really hungry. So it's about, because it's going to be such an emotional time for you, where you're thinking very differently and very hard not to act on emotion. You've just got to take that logical approach into it. So have everything planned out and have your stuff ready for your refeed, and stuff like diarrhea or rehydration sachets are just absolutely brilliant. Like for replenishing your salts and stuff. Like I didn't know about these when I first started cutting like years ago, and then I used to get the lightheadedness that people talk about. But then since I started using the diuretytes, the rehydration sachets, they just because obviously you don't want to just hydrate yourself with just water, because you haven't got the right electrolyte balances in your bloodstream. So getting some salts and etc. on board, and electrolytes are really helpful, and you feel you definitely feel better. So in terms of what to eat, I would say stuff that's easy to digest, stuff that you usually eat because usually that makes you feel good, because you know that it makes you feel good and you can digest it. You don't want to be trying new things. You want to resist the urge for going to try treats that you don't usually have, for instance, that you see a lot of people doing, and then they just struggle to digest it, or the next day they're on the toilet or whatever. It's so yeah, resisting the urge to eat stuff that you're not sure whether you can digest properly, and then like stuff that's generally easy to digest and absorb, so stuff like simple sugars and stuff simple sugars and carbs. Like stuff like say jelly. I was eating a box of jelly last time. That was just brilliant. So I was focused on my drinking. Jelly was digesting properly, wasn't making me feel like I could stomach it all. And Snacker Jacks, like salty Snacker Jacks, they were really good. But again, this is something that you'd go find like a nutrition coach. I recommend Shannon's Nutrition, Shannon Clifford, fantastic. Just helped me loads, and Rebecca Lorch for the weight cutting. And if you want to have a look at guys, speak to guys in this country who are really good at weight cutting and rehydrating. Scott McGowan, I'm sure he'd help you out. He did a really impressive weight cut and replenish for the 105 105 qualifier this year.